If you take a careful look at all the evils that we suffer right now, you'll find a love of money at the very heart. Yes, there are other evils mixed in, but the very foundation of these events is greed. And since power and money are essentially the same thing, to speak of one is to speak of the other. The Democrats, the Republicans, the BLM movement, George Soros, China, the Catholics, corrupt Bible translations, neo-Nazis, Antifa, pornography, gay rights, and even Baptists like Jerry Falwell, all have the love of money at the root of their evil. Welcome to the Shotcast. I'm John Little, recording on a warm evening in southern Taiwan on Saturday, August 29th, 2020. Before going on, hit like, click subscribe, and whack that little bell. It helps, really. Also, subscribe to the Shock Letter for free at theshockletter.com. Find my posts on Facebook and Twitter, and read my 2 books, also for free, When Jacob Returns and Ezekiel's Fire. You can find links for all of that below, and please keep praying for this ministry. I need God's direction every day to say and write what needs to be said and written. Now, let's get back to today's topic. For the love of money. It probably does not surprise you that my big mouth got me kicked out of high school. I didn't like being told what to believe, so I pushed back when they tried. They didn't like that, so they told me to leave and never come back. It actually was a good thing, since it gave me an excuse to skip the last 2 years of high school and go straight to college. All of which allows me to claim that I'm a high school dropout with an MBA. Fortunately, when I went to university, I learned to keep my mouth shut in the classroom. Yeah, I know, a miracle, right? And if I had a chance to talk to my teenage self all those years ago, I would have told myself to shut up and stop making mountains out of molehills, which I am very good at doing. Unfortunately, none of that is why I was kicked out of high school. The reason why they threw me out was because I was a threat to their power and money and anything else that is connected to that. Worse, they used lies and dirty tricks to get me to shut up before eventually getting rid of me. It was evil. Worse, it was a Baptist school. That's right, it was a supposedly Christian school that used lies and dirty tricks to try and keep me in line. And that was my first real experience with corruption in our churches. It was not the last. All of that explains why I am not surprised by recent revelations of corruption and horrifying behavior by Jerry Falwell Jr. And I'm sure also that we'd find about his father other things. And I can tell you that there are so many like him in positions of leadership of Christian churches and Christian organizations that it would shock you to find out. I've been a Christian for 47 years. I have attended a lot of churches around the world. All of those churches were corrupt. All of them, except 2, and maybe a third. And yes, let me emphasize that. All of those churches were corrupt, except 2 or 3. And the only reason why those 2 or 3 churches were not corrupt, as far as I can tell, was due to their small size. Having said that, I found myself in a couple of churches that were both small and corrupt. So size isn't the only thing. However, every church that I have attended that was about 100 members and above were all, without exception, corrupt in some vital and important way. And all of their corruption was directly connected to money and power. Yeah, there were other sins involved. There was arrogance, pride, adultery, pornography, dishonesty, hypocrisy, false teaching, abortion, theft, coercion, and everything else except outright murder in the sanctuary, and who knows. And all of that was happening while the pastor would stand up every Sunday and give what sounded like a great sermon. I've seen it. I've experienced what these people are willing to do. And I have heard horror stories from others who have had similar experiences. And for every Jerry Falwell Jr. who is caught, there are many, many more who are not, whose sins are covered up by loyal elders and loyal deacons. I have seen so much of it. It's always a surprise when I do not find it. Also, I am equally surprised when I find someone who is actively fighting corruption in our churches. If you are a young Christian or have never been in a position of responsibility in a church, you probably do not know what I am talking about. Unfortunately, it also probably means that you are being poisoned by your church. If it is as corrupt as some of the ones that I have seen, you might be in some trouble. Remember that half of all pastors have admitted to regularly consuming pornography. And those are just the ones who admit it. That makes me wonder about the other half. Is your pastor a regular consumer of pornography? And that's just one of many corruptions our pastors are involved in. Then there are the elders and treasurers who are engaged in God knows what kinds of sin. And yeah, God does know. And there will be a reckoning one day. And then the price will be high for those who have betrayed their responsibilities. And I've seen that betrayal myself. The Bible speaks to this point in Paul's letter to Timothy. Quote, "For the love of money is the root of all evils. Some people, in reaching for it, have strayed from the faith and stabbed themselves with many pains." Close quote. 1 Timothy 6:10, the New English Translation. Translation note, and you probably knew it was coming. The New English Translation seems to be the most correct, but they corrupt that verse with their footnotes. Other translations say root of all kinds of evil, but that is not what the Greek actually says. And as I keep saying, we should not insert our interpretations of the Bible into the Bible. Now back to the topic. Just look at how 1 Timothy 6:10 is being played out in front of our eyes everywhere, in everything. Did you know that pornography is the single biggest reason why your internet speed is so fast? Did you know that porn was the first industry to make money on the internet? Have you wondered why no one in the Obama administration has gone to jail? Why does China want to crush and destroy Taiwan? Why do so few know that there was a third building that fell on 9/11 in New York City? Why have the heroin distribution networks never been uncovered? Why was John Fitzgerald Kennedy assassinated? How did Hitler rise so fast, so quickly? Why is there so much sex and violence coming from Hollywood? Why is there so much erotic imagery in marketing? Why are there so many Bible translations? Why does the Roman Catholic Church continue to be so powerful? Why did Jerry Falwell Jr. abuse his power and engage in such awful sin? I could go on and on and on, but the one thing that ties every single one of those questions together is the love of money. Yes, there are other sins and abominations mixed into all of those questions, but the love of money weaves its way through all of them, every single one. When the Antichrist rises and takes control of the world, he will succeed in doing so because of the love of money. That's it for this Shockcast. Again, hit like, click subscribe, and whack that little bell. And please share this video or the MP3. After you have done all of that, leave a comment. I like seeing what you have to say about what was said here. Your input is welcome. Then help keep Omega Shock alive and the Shockcast alive. There's a link below that can help you do that. I did this for free for 8 years. Now I can't. Also, subscribe to the Shock Letter at theshockletter.com and read my books for free, When Jacob Returns and Ezekiel's Fire. You do not want to get caught by what is coming.